welcome back to another episode of the Life's Playbook podcast. This is season 2, episode 6 of my show. Yes, this episode technically should have come out on Thursday, but due to home renovations being done, it had to be delayed to today. And again, I had work the past 2 days, so I couldn't get around to it. But this is technically Thursday's episode. This is season 2, episode 6 of the show. And with that being said, I'm pleased to be joined today by my new co-host and longtime friend, Noah Hawley. He will be joining the show every streaming day, that being Sundays, Tuesdays when I can be more consistent with those, and Thursdays. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome Noah Hawley to the show. Noah, tell us a little bit about yourself.
What's going on, y'all? My name is Noah. He said what it was. Yeah, me and Quinn, we longtime friends, man. Middle school days, dude. I love football. Football's my life. Played it in middle school, high school. I love watching football. Favorite teams, the Cleveland Browns, man, represent. That's really all to know about me for real.
You'll be joining the show when he can on Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays again. I will try to be more consistent with the Tuesday episodes. I know those have also fallen off as of recent, but stay tuned for those because they will be up and running again when I can be more consistent with them. Not sure about this Tuesday though, because I do got a dentist appointment, but I will let y'all know on the official Instagram page. Be sure to follow that. Also, if you like the content and want to see the channel elevate to new heights, as I always say, like and subscribe under this video. Make sure to check out the TikTok page, follow the TikTok page and the Instagram page, and leave a subscription below the YouTube page. So, with that being said, let's get into today's action. Talking that NFL talk today. The NFL draft is just months away now. We all know it is in April. We're going to be breaking down the top 5, just the top 5 today, not the whole first round, but we're going to be breaking down the top 5 picks today and who we think is going to go where and if they're the best fit for that team. So, with that being said, let's get into it. And as always, the game never ends here at the Life's Playbook podcast. Let's get into the top 5 picks of the 2025 draft. I'll kick us off first with the Tennessee Titans. Well, let me run down the top 5 picks in case you haven't been keeping up in the sports world. The top 5 picks are proudly owned. Number 1, proudly owned by the Tennessee Titans. Number 2, our Cleveland Browns. Number 3, the New York Giants. Number 4, the New England Patriots. And number 5, the Jacksonville Jaguars. So those are your top 5 teams kicking off the 2025 NFL Draft. I'll kick us off and give you guys my first pick for the 2025 NFL Draft, starting with the Tennessee Titans, the number 1 pick. And I think after seeing this season, haven't seen too many Tennessee Titan games myself because I've been too busy in misery and shambles with my own team, them being the Cleveland Browns. But when I have watched the Tennessee Titans, I've noticed one thing. That quarterback room in Will Levis is atrocious, and I think they need a quarterback. So, with that being said, I'm going to be one of those basic analysts out there, and I'm going to say Cam Ward is going to come off the board first, and he will be a Tennessee Titan. I'm not expecting him to come into that program, into that organization and have a revelation like Jaden Daniels did. I'm not expecting him to be great, but I am expecting him to be decent enough to at least get the team above 500, if not make a playoff run. Again, they do need a lot of help still. I don't think Cam Ward is the complete fix, and I'm not expecting him to get him all the way to the AFC Championship game like Jaden Daniels did. He's a phenomenal kid, but I do think he's a huge step from Will Levis, I'll say that, and he is a huge step in the right direction for the Titans. Cam Ward, in my opinion, you are a Tennessee Titan. That's who I'm rocking with the first pick of the 2025 NFL Draft. Tennessee Titans, Cam Ward's coming off the board first.
So, in my opinion, the Tennessee Titans, they need a quarterback, but they also need some strength in the wide receiver room. You know, they had big names come out of Tennessee, like DeAndre Hopkins or AJ Brown. They haven't really been the same since those two. So I feel they're going to improve the wide receiver room with drafting Travis Hunter out of Colorado. And for the quarterback room, Will Levis, he still has time to grow. You know, he's still young, but if they also want a quarterback, I feel they're going to attack the free agency. You know, names like Sam Darnold or Justin Fields, all free agents coming up, they can help them out if they do attack a quarterback in free agency. You know, old guy Sam Darnold, he can help out, be that veteran behind Will Levis, teach them, throw him away. But I feel they're going to take Travis Hunter.
You think Travis Hunter is going to come off the board as the first pick? I mean, I think he's a top 5 pick, sure, but he's kind of flown under the radar as of late in some of the media's eyes, sometimes he's fallen out of the top five I've seen, but I think he's top five for sure. I don't think he's going to be the number one pick, but he will be a top five pick for sure. But you heard it, ladies and gentlemen. I'm rocking with Cam Ward. Noah's rocking with Travis Hunter. With that being said, let's move on to the Cleveland Browns. This season has not been great. It's been a complete regress from the 2023 season. Obviously, in the 2023 season, we made the playoffs. We got bounced by the Texans, CJ Stroud's rookie year. But it was a great season nonetheless. And obviously, the organization, they want to be able to get back to that. If not make the divisional round, if not make the championship game, if not compete and make a run towards the Super Bowl. So, with that being said, we got to look at some of the problems with the Cleveland Browns. And obviously, the biggest problem is the quarterback room. Again, the Browns are held hostage with that Deshaun Watson contract, and there's really not much we can really do. And Myles Garrett, as of recently, has come up and requested a trade. So, I don't know if y'all got a chance to see my last video, but I did hint at the Browns going for a quarterback move here. I'm still rocking with the quarterback move here. But I would not be surprised if the Browns also threw a curveball in there and went out and got Abdul Carter from Penn State. I would not be surprised. He can fill the pretty big gap that Myles Garrett would be leaving if he leaves. Again, I hope he doesn't leave, but if we can't work something out with him, I would not be surprised if Abdul Carter comes off the board at 2. But I'm rocking with my quarterback pick still. And I think if Cam Ward goes off the board here, I think Shedeur Sanders is that guy. He's going to be the second pick. So I think, and plus, he's been out there. He's shown the liking to Cleveland. So I think he will be a Cleveland Brown for sure. But I wouldn't be surprised if we also went with Abdul Carter out of Penn State. I know that Myles Garrett request is huge for not only Cleveland Browns fans like ourselves, but it's also huge for the team that picks him up and for the NFL world as a whole, because he's a 2023 Defensive Player of the Year. He's phenomenal. He's historic. He's got a Hall of Fame career cooking. But that's what I'm rocking with. I'm still rocking with my quarterback pick. If not Cam Ward, then probably Shedeur. I would not be surprised if Carter does come to Cleveland, though.
So yeah, I'm like not opposite of you at all. I agree with you completely on this pick. If no, we're not able to land Myles Garrett, keep him home, then I feel that pick is going to be Abdul Carter. But let's say in a perfect world, we're able to keep Myles Garrett. The Browns they're going to take Shedeur Sanders. You know, Shedeur, he wants to be a Brown, and I don't see why they wouldn't take him as their second pick.
Yeah, that both picks make sense. Again, I think some Browns fans, more specifically the old heads, this would be another song and dance routine. We get another quarterback, and he might be a bust, or he might not be ready. And Jameis is coming up on free agency, so there's no telling that if he might want to leave, and he has been vocal himself about leaving the Browns and joining a team that can not only win, but where he could start. And again, I'm all for it. I mean, he's a fun influence in the locker room for sure. He's definitely had some great quotes this time in Cleveland. So I'm not against him leaving, but if we do go with the quarterback here, there won't be that many veteran presences in that locker room, and he would be kind of thrown to the wolves. And we know the AFC North it's a tough division. It's a tough division to compete with. You know, Lamar and his squad, and Joe Burrow and his squad. You know, the Steelers defense. We're not even going to talk about the Steelers offense because they're also in shambles as it is in the quarterback room. But it is a tough division for Shedeur. So, with that being said, let's move on to the third pick of the 2025 NFL Draft. That third pick belongs to the New York Giants. The Giants, I would argue, are in a slightly worse situation than the Browns. I mean, they had a lot of hope on Danny Dimes, and they gave him a big contract, as you know, kind of similar to Deshaun Watson, and they were kind of held hostage by that contract, and they thought Daniel Jones was going to be that dude, and he was not that dude. So now not only is the quarterback room out in shambles, but they also need help on the O-line. They need help defensively. But I'm thinking that the Giants, you know, despite having a terrible quarterback room, there are free agents out there. Quarterback wise, there are free agents out there. So I'm thinking the Giants go O-line help here. I think they go out, draft an offensive lineman to help whoever they bring in free agency and to protect them. He's probably going to be an older vet quarterback. I know Russell Wilson is coming up on free agency, and Aaron Rodgers is also coming up on free agency. And they could go at Sam Darnold even. He's coming up on free agency. Kirko Chains is coming up on free agency. So there are a lot of veteran guys out there that I think the Giants should invest their time into. Again, they're probably not going to get a big contract, obviously, because they're older guys. But I do think the Giants should go O-line help here. So I'm rocking with some sort of offensive line draft pick here in this year's draft. I think the Giants are going to look into free agency for a quarterback, more specifically Russell Wilson, since he's coming up on free agency.
So I feel third pick, they're going to go for a quarterback. That quarterback being Cam Ward. They need help with the quarterback room, and I feel Cam Ward is going to be the guy for them to help out their young receiver like Malik Neighbors and just to help strengthen that offense. They do need an offensive line real bad. That offensive line is garbage, and I feel they're going to strengthen that offensive line in the free agency, try to get a big name out of the free agency.
Yeah, that offensive line is garbage. They got to fix it. But again, I think quarterback wise, they will probably look into. I think the Giants should look into free agency for a quarterback. But let's move on. We'll come back to the Giants in a minute. Let's move on and talk about the fourth pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, England Patriots. Now, this is one of those teams that has all the cap space in the world. They can pretty much go out and get whoever, whenever, wherever, all the cap space they have. With that being said, I think the receiving core for the Patriots is where they lack the most. They got a young rising talent in Drake May. I think they got a solid offensive line. Could the offensive line be better? Sure, but I think for this draft, they should look into getting some receiver help, whether that be free agency or in the draft. Now, personally, in the draft, I think there were some big names in this draft. McMillan out of Arizona, he's a big name. Nick Nash out of San Jose State, another big name. Luther Burden III out of Mizzou. There are some guys out there that can really come in here and be that number one option for Drake May. So I'm rocking with either McMillan out of Arizona State or Luther Burden III out of Mizzou to be the fourth pick. I think they're going to be the first receiver. One of those two are going to be the first receivers taken off the board here in this draft. But I do think, and again, there is that. The Bengals do have that T. Higgins situation. They have to address paying T. Higgins and whatnot. They have to address paying Jamar Chase. Will they do it or not? Will they risk essentially over 50% of their cap space to try to keep both of those guys? Or will T. Higgins walk? I think T. Higgins will walk, and I think the Patriots should also pick him up too. But I think draft-wise, Patriots got to go with a receiver here. They got to go with the wide receiver one, if not two, if they bring up T. Higgins out of free agency. So that's how I'm rocking with either Luther Burden III from Mizzou or McMillan out of Arizona for my fourth pick in this draft.
So, in my opinion, I feel fourth pick if Browns are not able to, or my apologies, the Browns are able to pick Myles Garrett and Abdul Carter is still on the board. The Patriots are going to go with that edge to help improve their defense, being Abdul Carter. If not, the wide receiver room that needs help. I agree with you completely on receivers, big names. So in a perfect world, I feel the Patriots going to select Abdul Carter with their fourth pick in the draft.
You think Abdul Carter's gonna fall to the fourth pick? You don't think he's top three in this draft, if not top two?
And it all just depends on how these first three picks go, man. I feel the Browns are going to try to stay with Myles Garrett, dude. There's no way we lose Myles Garrett. I don't see the Giants selecting anything other than a quarterback.
That is true. That is true. I think the Browns they got to figure something out because it would already add to the misery that we are already in as Browns fans if Myles Garrett leaves. So I understand that. I understand that completely. With that being said, to cap off the top 5 picks in the draft, we got the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, earlier in the beginning of the video, I said that Travis Hunter is definitely a top 5 pick for sure. He's definitely fallen under the radar in some analysts and some media's eyes. Sometimes he's not even in the top 5, which I think is absurd because he's a walking award winner, essentially. He can provide a lot, literally and figuratively, to the Jaguars, which is why I'm rocking with him to be the 5th and final top 5 pick in the draft. Travis Hunter is going to be, I think he'll primarily play corner. I believe he's listed in the combine as a corner. So I think he'll primarily provide that secondary help because the Jaguars obviously need help in the secondary. They really need help defensively overall. But they got stars. Don't get me wrong. They have stars both offensively and defensively. But they don't have, a secondary star. And I think Travis can come in there. He might play both ways a little bit, and if he does, cool. I'm all for it, but I think he will primarily play corner for the Jaguars. So, with that being said, Travis Hunter, excuse me, Travis Hunter, he will be a Jacksonville Jaguar, and I think he will fall into the top 5. I don't think he's going to fall out of it. He's an award winner. He's a walk-in award winner, and he can provide a lot. And he can definitely help out Trevor Lawrence in that Jacksonville defense.
So yeah, the Jaguars, man, that defense is some extreme help. Their secondary, I feel they could go with the corner out of Michigan being Will Johnson. I don't like Michigan, but I feel they're going to select Will Johnson. If not, they're going to improve. They're going to improve their senior D line being Mason Graham, also out of Michigan. Two big stars that help Michigan. I hate Michigan, bro.
Hey, I
But
I
I
hate
feel
Michigan.
Jacksonville
I
could
hate
take some Michigan.
Michigan too, but they defensively at least they got guys and they've been known to produce a great defense. So I understand that. Man, we gonna have to come back one of these days and get your opinion on that Ohio State game because I'm sure everybody that's seen my reaction video to that game, they know how I feel about that. They know how I feel about Ryan Day. We gonna have to come back and get your opinion on that game as well as whether Ohio State can get the job done this year with the squad that's coming up against Michigan. Obviously, that game is going to be played in Ann Arbor, so it's an away game for the Buckeyes. Tough atmosphere, but that's a different episode for a different day. But I do understand that reasoning. Michigan is defensive heavy and they produce great defensive linemen, great corners. But you really think Will Johnson's going to come? He's going to be a top 5 pick with the injury history that he's got. You think he's going to be a top 5 pick?
Injuries, that is a big thing. But a lot of these young players that take injuries in their college career, they tend to play better once they hit the NFL. Yeah, I don't know, man. He could do some big things. He could also be a bust. That's all just hit or miss with that guy right there. But I feel that that's going to be their pick. And then
The Jaguars do need some defensive help, so I would not be surprised if somebody out of Michigan does come off the board. I do think Will Johnson is definitely a first round pick for sure. Despite his injury history, he's definitely first round worthy. Personally, I don't think he's going to be a top 5 guy, but he will definitely be a first rounder for sure. But man, we're going to have to come back to that Michigan game. We'll get your consensus on what you think. Can the Buckeyes get it done this year in Ann Arbor against Michigan? As well as, what you thought about the 2024 game, because that was definitely something. But another episode for another day, possibly Tuesday. Oh, with that being said, quick little announcement for today's episode. There is merch on the way. If you haven't kept up with the official Instagram account, there is merch on the way. I'm currently in thought right now and slowly putting the merch idea into action. So sometime this year, merch will drop. As the show gets bigger and bigger. So stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for where to buy. So with that being said, let's go over our picks and see if anything could change if we would change some picks or not. So with that being said, number 1 pick, Tennessee Titans. For me, I got Cam Ward coming off the board. Phenomenal guy. He's calm, cool, collected. He doesn't have to have a Jaden Daniels type of season. I'm not expecting it, but I do think he can elevate that team tremendously with the right weapons that they have. Number 2, the Cleveland Browns, either Abdul Carter out of Penn State or Shedeur Sanders if Cam Ward falls off the board first. Wouldn't be surprised if either of those guys comes off the board next. Number 3, Giants. I think they need to go O-line help. Offensive line is atrocious, and I think they should look elsewhere into free agency as to who's going to be the quarterback for that season. For the Patriots, I think they're going to go with a receiver here. Obviously, they could also spend a lot of that cap space money in free agency too and show interest, and I think they should show interest in T. Higgins because on any other team, T. Higgins can be that guy. He can be a wide receiver 1 on any other team. But I think they should show interest in T. Higgins and utilize that cap space. But I do think they'll also draft a rookie as well. Either McMillan or Burden III out of Arizona and Burden III out of Mizzou. And for my final pick, I got Travis. Travis Hunter landing in the 5th pick to go to Jacksonville. He can provide that stability to the secondary, and he can really be that next young star. in that secondary for Jacksonville. That's overall. That is my right now, my top 5 mock draft as of right now.
My top five. First pick being Travis Hunter. I feel the Titans are either going to attack a quarterback in the free agency or they're going to stick with their young quarterback, Will Levis. Second pick with the Browns, I have Abdul Carter or Shador. Two. It all depends on what we do with Myles Garrett, man. I know the offensive lineman. Who was it again? I said that they're leaning on retirement, whether we stick with Myles Garrett or not. I forget who that was.
It probably had to be somebody like Batonio. He's an older guy, or yeah, probably somebody like Batonio or Teller, somebody of that nature. Because our offensive line, they are aging and they are older, so I wouldn't be surprised if this would be either of those guys this last season. I wouldn't be surprised.
Then my third pick, I have the Giants taking a quarterback being Cam Ward. That's if he doesn't get picked in the first or second as a first or second pick. And then fourth pick, I have Abdul Carter if the Browns do not select him. And final pick, I have those two teams from that team up north, man. The two players from that team up north, Will Johnson or Mason Graham. They're going to select one of those.
Mason Graham he's also a stud. I do think he'll definitely get picked up. Definitely get picked up for sure. Maybe to a team like the Raiders, maybe. Maybe he'll definitely fall into top 10. Top 10, he'll be a first rounder for sure. But top 5, no, I'm not rocking with Michigan in the top 5. But I do understand where that's coming from because Michigan, again, they are a great defensive school and they can produce. Nonetheless, we need the Buckeyes to start producing on some dubs against Michigan, but that's a different discussion for another day. Man, whole different discussion for another day. I mean, looking back at my mock draft, at least I think again everyone's mock draft is different than the next guy's, obviously, and our mock drafts are different in and of themselves. I do think that I don't think I would really change anything about mine. I mean, obviously the sleeper pick with the Patriots drafting a wide receiver as well as going out into free agency, I think that would probably clash the most in other people's opinions. But hey, I think they got all the money in the world and they got their top 5 in the draft. Why not go for it? Why not double up on some receivers? I mean, Travis Hunter 5. I think that's fair. He's the star. I don't think he'll fall out of the top 5, and he can definitely, for a team like Jacksonville that's in some desperate secondary help, I think he can come in and be that guy. Again, he can play both ways, but I don't think, especially with Brian Thomas Jr. and the season that he had this year, I don't think he'll really be required to play both ways that much because he's Brian Thomas Jr. is going to be a sophomore this year in the NFL, and I think he'll have a better season, if not similar stats this season. So I don't think Travis will be required to play both ways. He can, and he probably will. They'll probably utilize him, but I think Travis, he can primarily provide that secondary help, again, as well as the Giants' offensive line. They got to focus on that offensive line. I think for anybody they bring in free agency, they got to focus on that offensive line. The Browns, I wouldn't be surprised with who we go with, whether it's defensive presence or a quarterback. And Titans are in shambles as well in the quarterback room. I think Cam Ward is that guy. Again, calm, cool, collected. He ain't got to have a star-studded season, but he's definitely that guy. So I don't think I would change much in my mock draft as of right now. I don't think I would.
Yeah, man, I gotta agree with you. I don't think I would change anything towards my draft picks. Obviously Shador and Cam Moore, they go either way, but that pick really depends on what the Titans do. They could go with a quarterback like Cam Moore or Shador, but I don't really see that happening for real. The Browns, their pick, Abdul Carter, or they could also take Cam Moore. Cam Moore's not on the board, but Shador, he wants to be a Brown. I just see them going towards Shador. And the Giants, they don't really have any choice but to take a quarterback here. They could improve their offensive line, draft an offensive lineman, but I don't really see that happening at all. Their quarterback room is the Patriots, though. Patriots. Yeah, big names in the free agency. I feel that the Bengals, they're going to franchise tag T. Higgins again for the second year in a row. Keep him on board. Then they're going to money down on Jamar Chase. But there are also other names in the free agency for the wide receiver room. If Abdul Carter is still on the board, I see him getting picked up by the Patriots. And then Jacksonville, they need a secondary. Michigan has that secondary. I don't see how, Michigan does it, but they somehow do it, man. They got the defense. That's all I'm gonna say for this episode about Michigan. As Quinn said, that's a talk for another time, man.
Yeah. Yeah, nah. Yeah. I understand it. Now the real question is who's a better quarterback between Cam and Shador? Because obviously there's been a lot of comparisons between the two, and the two have been hanging out as of recent, and practicing together. They kind of go at it in practices together and whatnot, and they both provide different things. But for the quarterback needy teams like the Browns and the Titans, specifically them, and I guess the Giants too, but specifically those three guys, who would benefit the most drafting either Cam or Shador? Who would benefit the most out of drafting those guys? Because they're both different at the same. They're both different, but they're both like they can elevate the right offense if given the right situation. And some of these teams they do have the right. Some of these teams have the right pieces. Like the Browns, they got the right pieces. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, we are the Cleveland Browns, but we do have stars. We do have Jerry Jeudy. We do have Cedric Tillman. He's a rising young blood. We got David Njoku. He's struggled as of recent with his consistency in catching, but I think he'll get back to the way he's always been and being Mr. Reliable. And obviously, we got a strong run game when healthy. We do have a strong run game. So some of these teams in this draft, they got pieces for guys like Cam Ward and Shador. Who do you think is going to benefit the most drafting either one of those guys?
That's a good conversation, man. Cam Ward, he comes from a big school being Miami. A lot of talent surrounds them. From what I see here, he's an escape artist, so he has the ability to like extend the pocket out, throw the ball to, or make a play happen to receivers, such as like offensive line. Whenever they're not healthy, our pocket is relatively not there. DTR, he struggled a lot with the pocket collapsing. He disappointed me, man. Shador Sanders, he brought a team. I'm gonna be honest with you, I have not heard of Colorado before Shador Sanders and Deion Sanders being there, man. I feel there's a lot of what do you call it?
A lot of
Shador
hype.
Sanders, he has a lot of yeah, he
Hype.
has a lot surrounding his name. Yeah, he has a
Yeah.
lot of hype surrounding his name, like his father. Now, I feel that would bring like a lot of media attention to Cleveland if we do pick up Shador. But what I see here, Sanders is accurate with the quick release to pick defensive apart. So he has a good short pass rating. He had 3,230 yards and a completion percentage. Oh my god, a completion percentage of 6.693, dude. Oh my god. And his touchdown to interception ratio is 27-3. My opinion, I like Shador Sanders over Cam Ward. I feel he would do better in Cleveland. He would be a better all quarterback over Cam Ward.
I hear that. I understand. Again, I'm one of those. I gotta be one of those basic, analysts out there. Those one of those basic, scouts out there. I gotta go with Cam. I mean, especially the display that he put on against who was it? I believe it was Iowa State in the Pop Tart Bowl. Even though Miami did lose that game, they lost by one. But and Cam Ward did end up sitting out that game. Well, he sat out in the second half, but for the first half that he was in, he did show a lot. Yeah, they did. Miami did end up losing that game, but Cam Ward showcased that he's calm, he's cool, collected, he's tough. He's a competitor. Obviously, Miami, they don't have some of the offensive line help that some of these NFL teams would provide. They didn't have like a big star studded weapon like some of these NFL teams have. Like the Giants have, Malik Neighbors, Browns Jerry Jeudy. Just recently both those guys both made the Pro Bowl this year. So I think he'll definitely benefit the Titans as far as quarterback play. I mean, obviously the Titans, Calvin Ridley is an older dude, so he's not really the reliable type of guy, but he's got a couple seasons left. I think Cam Ward, personally, I gotta be one of those basic guys, man, one of those basic analysts out there, those basic scouts, and I gotta go with Cam Ward over Shador. Both great guys, though. Don't get me wrong; they're both great guys, and they'll both, well, maybe not Shador, depending on how the Browns manage this offseason, but I think they'll both elevate the organizations that they are drafted to. I definitely think they'll both benefit in some way, shape, or form. Shador, to me, Shador, he's kind of like he's good. Don't get me wrong; he's great. But I think that the biggest thing that Cam has over Shador is Cam. He's got that mobility. He's got that scramble. I'm not saying he's Lamar Jackson and whatnot, but he definitely has. He can get out of these tough situations. I know. I've said in prior videos that he's kind of like Jameis. He's a gunslinger, but younger and more athletic. He can definitely get out there and keep the play alive. Now, with him being a gunslinger, there are turnover problems. There will be turnover problems, but I think the biggest thing for me that I guess I would be looking into if I was a GM is scrambling ability. And Shador's kind of like a traditional pocket passer. Don't get me wrong, he can get out of the pocket too and make plays, but in today's day and age in the NFL, the traditional pocket passer has almost gone extinct. And you got to be able to scramble and make plays with your legs. Not saying Shador can't do any of that. He can definitely do that, but Cam, I think he can do it to a different level. He can do it to another level. It's part of his skill set. So I just think, again, I got to be one of those guys. Got to be one of those basic guys out there and go with Cam over Shador. But they will both benefit the team that they get drafted to, for sure.
I agree with you there, man.
Again, every person's mock draft is different than the next. So we could be wrong about some of these picks. We could be right. And hey, if we right, we right. I'm taking credit for it. Hey, if I'm right, I'm taking credit for my prediction. But everybody's mock drafts are different. So with that being said, this has been season 2, episode 6 of the Life's Playbook podcast. Again, if you are new watching the show and you haven't had a chance to check out our other videos, make sure to check them out. They are still up. Make sure to check out season 1 as well. With that being said, stay tuned for the merch. For the merch idea, it is in the works. I'm gonna have to now. I gotta get out of the habit of saying me now, 'cause it's now us now. We running this show now. So I got to get out of that habit. But stay tuned for Tuesday too. There may be another episode coming Tuesday as well. Depends on my dentist appointment. But there may be another episode. So stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for the merch and for where to buy when the idea is put into action. But with that being said, we'll catch you guys Thursday, if not Tuesday, for season 2, episode 7 of the Life's Playbook podcast. Till then, peace out. Know you got anything for them boys?
Hey, man, stay safe. Tune in Tuesday. May happen, may not. You said Thursday. I'll for sure be there. So see y'all then, man.
Peace out.